For the introduction, I would like to explain what is colonialism. Colonialism is the practice in which a powerful established control over a foreign territory, often imposing its political, economic, and cultural system on the colonized people. Examples of powerful countries that involve colonies include European powers such as Britain, Spain, France, and Portugal. These countries colonize other territories to gain economic profit, seize political power, and spread culture and religious ideology. For example, Malaysia has been colonized by multiple European powers due to its rich national resources and strategic location. These Portuguese, Dutch, and British sought control over Malaysia to exploit its resources and use its strategic position to enhance their own national interests.
The first reason of colonialism is economic factors. Malaya's socio-economic development during the colonial era was very modest, despite being one of the richest colonies in the British Empire. The colonial economy depends on natural resources, for example, tin and rubber. Malaya had become the world's largest natural rubber producer. For instance, it produced more than half of the world's tin for food preservation by the end of the 19th century and was the world's greatest producer of natural rubber by the end of the 20th century. Rubber was the first produced commercially in the early 1900s. The Portuguese and the Dutch arrived in Malaya for seeking spice, but the Portuguese did not succeed, while the British colonization was driven by the demand for tin and interest with the Malay island. Besides, the Dutch East India Company was established in the year 1602 with the purpose of controlling the spice trade in Malay Island and monopolizing the tin ore trade in the Malay state.
Next, strategic interest. In a nutshell, strategic interest was more than just making money for colonial powers. It was about gaining influence and power on the world stage. Colonies with valuable resources or key locations offer military muscle, trade control, and bragging rights. Colonial empires weren't just after resources. Strategic location was a huge perk for their militaries. A good colonial base meant a natural harbour for easy troop and supply movement, plus defensive terrain for tough-to-reach fortress vibes. This translated to quicker deployments, meant power projection, better defences, and smoother logistics. A strategic location for colonialism wasn't just about defense, it also gave control over trade routes. This meant colonies could call the shots on what goods were traded and who got to trade with them. Basically, they could be the middleman and set the prices, making them a lot of money. Plus, a good location could build trust with locals if trade benefited everyone. Just like in the poster, it helps build trust and reduce tension in the regions.
The third reason of colonialism is social impact. The social impact of the causes of colonialism are deeply intertwined with the motivation and methods of colonial expansion. So, for first point is the British import cheap foreign workers from China and India, significantly increasing the population in Malaya. For example, in the early 20th century, the British significantly increased Malaya population by importing cheap labor from China and India, with yearly 1.7 million people initially. Malaya has vast land and resources but a stagnant labor force. Malaya prefer farming and fishing, so Chinese laborers were in tin mines and Indian on rubber plantation. This influx drastically increased the Chinese and Indian population shares in Malaya. Next is investment in healthcare and education. Healthcare investment and medical advances aided colonial expansion. Western medicine reduced some disease and introduced new treatment, but undermined traditional practices and causes new issues. Rural medical facilities mainly benefit for wealthy families in towns who were colonial administrators. For education, gradually transforming the former Malaya-speaking state into multilingual societies. English language increasingly used in public service. Colonial economic expansion and labour needs from China and India made Malay-speaking nation multilingual, especially on the west coast. Despite Malay monarch concern and Malay being the administrative language, English increasingly dominated the civil service as British bureaucracy grew in Malaya.
Lastly, I would like to explain the political factor causing colonialism included European rivalries, administrative reform, and the desire for social and political control. European countries compete to maintain a balance of power, especially in the 17th and 18th century, as a means to increase military strength and political influence. However, administrative reform were key to colonial governance. Colonial powers, centralized authority introduced European legal system and facilitate economic activity like land acquisition and labor control to benefit colonizer. Indigenous law and custom were often separated or selectively integrated, reinforcing colonial dominance. For example, the British brought the Chinese and Indian immigrants to provide labor for the tin and rubber industry. Then, colonial strategy in Malaya included establishing English language school to educate the children of British expatriates, officials, and the local elite. These schools aimed to create local administrators. Chinese students, mostly in urban areas, dominated these schools, while education for Malays was often limited to the aristocracy, and while most Indian families were educated due to economic inequality. English was emphasized to facilitate colonial administration and integrate Malaya into the British Empire.
To conclude, colonialism was driven by a complex interplay of economic, political, social, and cultural factors. The desire for wealth, power, and prestige all fueled the expansion of colonial. However, colonialism also had a profound and lasting impact on the colonized regions, shaping their political, economic, and social landscapes for generations to come. And that is all the causes of colonialism. Thank you.